I guess it is still morning. So good morning. I'll take your questions. I'm sure you have injury questions to ask, and we can get started there if you want. Just let me know. Well, tell me the questions you have.
You've got the two guys on IR, the moves that you're going to make right now. Can you kind of go through, AJ's up, you've still got one spot to decide. Is that how it
Yeah, so AJ came up. Baylon's in the 21-day window. We'll see how it goes and how he progresses through. And what else?
Well, I think if you had practice today, you wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, so they will all go today. From a walkthrough standpoint, Dane will be the only one that is not. Dane Jackson is the only one that is not going to go today.
What's he got?
Foot.
So I know you mentioned that Dalton was in the concussion protocol. Is he still in the protocol?
Yes.
And would he still be out there on a limited basis, though?
In the protocol.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is Jamarcus, Jamarcus was called up for the game. Now it sounds like if Dane's got a problem, is he a legitimate contender for that 53-man spot?
Yes. Yep.
I know it's a next man up mentality, but when considering the three guys that you're missing on defense now, how do you just come close to replacing guys of that caliber?
Well, like I've said before multiple times, you never replace a player, and I don't like to get into comparing players. I don't think that's healthy. Overall, it's the job of the person who is stepping in to do the job. And we have full confidence in that player, whoever that player is in this case. And a piece of this is you play. Those guys they're not able to play. The guys that you're all talking about. And so, a piece of it is playing for those guys too, because they were a big piece of this team and still are, but they can't help it so much now. So we play for them.
John, to the point of the guys who come in now, with Trey, you had corners who had played on this team a lot. At defensive tackle, you've got guys who've been in this league for a long time. At linebacker, the guys who came in have much less experience. How much different is the approach with those guys coming in because of that background they have?
The approach at the position, you mean, or just overall, or?
At linebacker, where the guys are likely going to play now for Matt because they don't have the same experience. The guys
Right.
who replaced Trey and DaQuan.
Yeah, you always have to be, to your point, that aware of what you have there in terms of experience, rapport with that position in particular, where, really any position. Hey, how long has the player been on the field? How long has he been working with the player next to him? And so you just try and be as aware as you can at the position level, the coordinator level, and the head coach level. So, but full confidence in those players.
Hey, Sean, I would assume that Punafore doesn't have an injury. He's just been inactive. But at this point now with DaQuan out, does he kind of have to step up and show you something here?
Right, and he's done well. It was more of a numbers thing the first couple of weeks when he was down, when he was inactive. But he's a really good football player. He's helped us when he was active, and now it's his chance to get in there and do it again.
What do you lose most with DaQuan? Obviously, he's a very good player, but in your eyes, what are you really losing there with him out?
Well, I think it was said before he got hurt. I think the previous 2 weeks he had were very strong. He was factoring into the defense, the defensive front overall, run and pass, and I think he was playing really well. So, you lose a good football player, but as I said before, you look and you say, hey, all right, come on, let's go. Next person, you're up. It's your time to shine here.
I guess what I was thinking is, is he part of why Ed has gotten off to such a great start? Because he's just a guy who can occupy people and create space for Ed, right? Is that
the rapport, right? So the rapport that I mentioned earlier is similar up front when you got a guy playing next to Ed who Ed knows, and in this case DaQuan knows Ed, and so you kind of work off of each other a little bit, both run and pass, and so. But that said, Jordan Phillips has been here a long time, and maybe 2 different stints, but he's been here for quite some time, and he knows Ed, and so does Tim, and so does Puna for that matter.
Hey, Sean, on Monday you said you weren't sure if you were going to lose Matt DaQuan for the rest of the year. Do you have any more clarity on that?
I don't. All I know is they're going to be put on IR. They're going through surgery or have gone through surgery already, but that's really where I'm at this point.
Are you holding out hope at all on either of those guys that you can get them
Yes. I don't think that door's been shut totally, but again, more information needed to really be able to say that.
On both or just one of them?
I'll say both.
Sean, Terrel Bernard, with he's been communicating and lining guys up, what has stood out about his performance in that area?
Yeah, very active. I mean, this is one of the conversations that we were having every day, I think, at the start of the season, right, when there was a lot of questions about TB and in that position overall. And, I'll say that I think he's done a real nice job early on in the start of the season at this point of, making the plays that he's needed to make and then making some that are above and beyond, the job description. And then also at the same time is the leadership piece that goes with that position is inherent to the position, and he's continued every day to work on that piece, and he's only going to get better with experience.
Did he process a lot of things besides the play call into his helmet? Did you give him a lot of other information before the microphone?
You know what? I try not to, just because it'd be you're trying to write an article and someone's in your ear yelling at you. I don't think that's probably the best work environment maybe for you. Yelling at you and trying to give you more information. It's just, and then you got to go. So I'd like to, and I think most play callers or communicators would. Hey, this is what I think's coming, but over the course of time, it's been proven just to get in the way as opposed to helping.
It is harder to write an article when somebody's yelling.
John, how much did Bobby Babich play in the role of the growth that we've seen in Terrel Bernard, and how does that help him now when he's not going to kind of get Dorian and T-Dot in the same spot?
Right. Bobby's done a phenomenal job. He really has. We've been together for a number of years. Our families are close, and he's a really good coach. He really is, and works extremely hard. Has a passion for the job. You remember his dad when his dad was here, and he learned from, I think, growing up in a football family, much like I did, and so he's just had a great foundation, and he's done a great job at the position.
Looking at the Giants, what do you make of a team that you're very familiar with what Brian Dable can do? A team that's struggling on offense.
Well, I think they're a good, solid football team. They've had some injuries, and when you look at them last season, they went in won in the wild card round out in Minnesota, I believe it was, and they're a good football team. They've got good schemes, good coaches, and we got a test in front of us on Sunday night. We got to focus on ourselves, number one, and get ourselves ready to go, and look at some of this personnel that we've got going in there, and get better fundamentally, get better technique-wise, and it should be an exciting night in Western New York here and on Sunday night here.
Sean, recognizing that the offense is playing well, you're putting up the good numbers, do you feel you need more production from the tight end position? It just doesn't seem like as much two tight end as you're using. I know there's only one ball, but do you need more out of those two guys?
Well, I just think overall it's a combination of finding a rhythm offensively, right, including getting the ball to the tight end position, but really, all positions, right, is I think the biggest, my biggest goal at this point is consistent rhythm. From the start of the game to the end of the game, and it's tough. People play good defense. This is the NFL for a reason, so it's not going to be easy. And sometimes you want to get the ball to somebody, and the defense takes it away, right? But the defense they're playing or how they match up. But at the end of the day, we got to find a more consistent approach or a more consistent level of rhythm, and I think including the tight ends in that is important, and but also. Making sure we're balanced from a standpoint of it's not just, hey, the tight end position, it's where the progression takes you. That's where you're going with it. And Josh, I think, has done a good job to this point, and we got to get the ball in the playmaker's hands.
With AJ Klein, how have you seen him handle the last 2 months of being here, leaving for a bit, coming back, now may have a bigger role? Just what has it been like from a mental standpoint of him? Yeah,
it's as you would imagine, you go through a certain career, right, and you're used to you go from kind of earning your way to having earned your way as a starter for a number of years in the league, and then towards the back end now where AJ is, he still loves to play, he still is fit to play, and he's a really smart football player, and a guy we have a lot of confidence in, and there is a mental adjustment, if you will, I guess that's the right word, for all that go through those phases, right, and but it's not just specific to football. It's specific to really life and any career. So, but he's been really mentally strong and helping the young guys.
How has Josh Norman completed that arc of his career, and what do you see in him still?
Yeah, similar. You know, we'll see. I haven't, you know, I just saw J-No in street clothes here, so I haven't been on the field with him yet. But another guy that still has the passion and desire to play, obviously, and you know, we'll see what type of shape he's in here. And he's a guy that's always brought a lot of juice, you know, a lot of energy to the team and teams that he's been on. And you know, he does a great job taking the ball away, and he's a sound tackler. So you know, we'll see where it goes physically at this point from here.
Was part of that move, Sean, maybe when he's 35? I mean, was part of it maybe he can be a mentor to these young guys? I mean, I don't know what he's got left to play, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's been through you mentioned the arc. It's even before that. I mean, when we were in Carolina, you know, he got off to a little bit of a slow start. We got off to a little bit of a slow start in terms of just him not being on the field early, and then he learned some things and adjusted to the way he needed to adapt his style of play to the team, and the rest is history. I mean, he went and did well and above any what we thought he was capable of because of the work he put in. I mean, he was so committed to his craft, but the credit goes to him just from the adjustments he made early on because he wasn't on the field early on, and those are great lessons he can share with young players.
Specifically Kaiir, I mean, is that a player that you look to? Because Eric talked about needing to keep his confidence up and just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a you know, to me, not the reason, the primary reason why J-No's here, but it is a secondary reason that he can, you know, impart wisdom, perspective that sometimes can't always come from a coach. It's powerful when it comes from a teammate or a player that's played your position and been there and done that before.
What's the biggest challenge to you as a defensive coordinator when you have such critical pieces taken out of your personnel? What's the biggest challenge to you as a coach?
Well, I think overall, you know, when we talk about, I know that, you know, the baseball series, playoff series are going on right now, and I've never been a baseball coach, but when you have a starting rotation and you're about 6, 7 deep, you got options, right? And so you get to a point where you're saying, hey, you know, I'm now down to 3 or 4 maybe, right? And you're saying, hey, so some of the options are taken off the table. I think that's probably the thing that comes to mind the most.
Sean, when you see Dorian Williams fly around the way he did, get there, maybe just a little over pursuit here, a little angle there, a little tackling thing there. It's got to get you excited, I'm sure, to see that. But how do you rein that in a little bit to let him play with that energy, kind of make sure that he also is using the right technique?
Right, that's an ongoing daily conversation with everyone on the team. Is fundamentals and techniques. You got to stay with it. You got to grow it to the point where it becomes sustainable through the rest of the season. Because there's a point where you're out of pads, where it's hard to work it as much as you'd like to. That's why that training camp, spring training camp, early part of the season is so important to that building that foundation. And you're talking about a young player, right? And so when you get in there, watching it from the sideline is one thing. Getting in there and watching it unfold right in front of you, the speed is, you know, these older guys tell these young guys, hey, you go from college to high school to college, it gets faster. College to the pros, it gets faster preseason, and then the regular season's faster, and then playoffs and beyond, it only gets faster as you go. So you got to find a way, certainly from experience, to slow the game down as much as you can.
With Baylon, he's obviously missed time on the field, but what are some ways, have you been able to measure, like, if he's taken steps from last year to this year, like any growth preseason, training camp before his injury? What did you see just growth-wise?
Right, I mean, he's a mature young man, knows what he wants, works extremely hard at his craft, and you know, a little bit to your point, he did gather some reps through the spring and through training camp, but has been a little bit banged up, and so more soft tissue, I'd say. So it's just been harder for him to gather more reps and the experience that comes through those reps. So at this point, still a little bit of a to be decided. Yeah.
Sean, how do you feel Vaughn did coming through? He can practice in a game, and you foresee him ramping up his workload now?
You know, Vaughn did well. I thought, you know, number one, he came out of the game clean, you know, I think again any rep or any game at this point is one under his belt, and it's going to take some time. And I think at the end of the day, you know, if anybody can come back, he can do it, right? I mean, he's just so committed to his craft, and he's such a pro, and he finds every little inch each week to establish or find a competitive advantage that he can use to help him perform at the highest of the high levels, like he's done his whole career. So, you know, I think it's just one step at a time.
Brian Dable has been gone 2 years, obviously, but is still there a concern that he could read your mail?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I mean, like, do you have to worry anything about his knowledge of your offense force you to be concerned about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, we're aware. I mean, it's when you have people leave your place or you leave another place, it's, you know, that's what happens. You know, good things happen when you're productive, and so he went on to get a head coaching job, and but we've coached against coaches before that we've been around, and so you're always aware of it, Mark, I think is the biggest thing, and but our focus respectfully needs to be on us. All right, thank you.